My name is Matthew Peterson, and this is my presentation for Benchmark Organization Design, Structure, and Change assignment. Each year, Fortune magazine puts forth a curated list of the top companies operating in the United States. This list is called the Most Admired List, and it's put together by analyzing over 300 companies based on 8 specific metrics. These metrics are innovativeness, quality of management, long-term investment value, people management, quality of products and services, financial soundness, wise use of corporate assets, and social responsibility to the community and the environment. The usual industry giants comprise most of the top 10, including Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet. In fact, most companies that Fortune lists as the undisputed industry leaders have a place in the top 10. However, the apparel industry leader Nike ranks as low as 13th on Fortune's Most Admired list, despite being the highest rated company in one of the largest industries in the world. It's obvious that profits, investment value, financial soundness, and every other financial metrics is incredibly positive for Nike. The metric that I feel Nike falls short in the most, and the leading detriment to its score, is due to a repeated history of the lack of social responsibility to the community and the environment. Nike is a titan of the apparel industry and is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Financially speaking, Nike is enjoying tremendous success, boasting over $14 billion in annual profit each year since 2015, according to a study done by Statista. Beyond sales metrics, Nike has an incredible presence in the athletic world, including a major presence in every major sports league across the world. While the financial record is outstanding, Nike has not appeared in the top 10 most admired companies since ranking 9th in 2016. It can be argued that a major reason for this relatively low ranking is due to the amount of negative public relations and backlash that has plagued Nike in recent years. Most of this negativity stems from unethical business practices and repeated documented human rights violations. In Lara Robertson's article titled "How Ethical is Nike?", she highlighted multiple occasions where Nike has been observed demonstrating unethical behavior. For example, Nike has been accused of using cheap, dangerous sweatshop labor to save money during its production processes, dating back all the way to the 1970s. In addition, Nike pulled its support of the Worker Rights Consortium, in turn blocking labor rights experts from monitoring its supplier factories as recently as 2017. On an environmental scale, Nike has shown no evidence to suggest that it is on track to meet its target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, nor any evidence to prevent deforestation. When compared to similar brands that have a clear stance on their position in the environment and their duty to positively impact communities, such as Patagonia, Nike is at a glaring disadvantage in this regard. Patagonia is a clothing brand that supports the idea of efficiency and limiting waste in order to support the environment, and a lot of the clothing that Patagonia produces are made with sustainably sourced or recycled material in fair wage facilities with good working conditions. Patagonia is an example of a brand that clearly states the core values and beliefs that are promoted throughout each level of their organization. Their end goal of bettering the environment is incredibly striking in the fashion industry, an industry where the average company, like Nike, willingly engages in questionable activities that often harm both the environment as well as their workforce in exchange for higher profits. The active role that Patagonia chooses to take in environmental awareness, coupled with the outspoken nature of their advertising and public relations campaigns, has left them with little room for error in their actions. Yet, they continue to build a fervent fan base due to their continued decisions and programs that lead to a positive impact within their affected communities, as well as the environment as a whole. Judging by the track record of adhering to their strict values, Patagonia's leaders have shown leadership styles of servant leadership, as well as conscious leadership, two very effective and empathetic leadership strategies that have not been shown by management leaders in Nike. In my opinion, it's obvious that the organizational structure of Nike is tailored to maximize profits. While this is not necessarily a bad thing, the unethical business practices that have been repeatedly prioritized in order to maximize these profits can negatively impact Nike's brand image in the long run. Beyond the damaged brand image, distrust among consumers may grow and affect the financial metrics that are so positive at this time. A complete overhaul of the organizational culture of Nike, one that highlights the understanding of Nike's higher purpose to the earth and its communities, would be extremely effective at beginning to ward off some of the negative attention that has already accrued. In theory, conscious culture, conscious capitalism should be the frameworks that build every company that employs individuals to work for them, as the four principles of conscious capitalism can all be considered necessary to a positive and successful working environment. Oftentimes, however, profitability begins to take the top priority of a company, and the employees, and by extension their communities, sometimes suffer. The viewpoint which paints the planet as expendable and profits as the primary goal is common among the leading companies of most industries, especially the clothing industry. R. Michael Anderson's article, The Four Principles of Conscious Capitalism, highlights the importance of making an effort to shape the culture of an organization according to shared values and beliefs. He states that a values-based culture is one that is intentional about how people act and perform. When a culture is not defined and enforced, your people aren't all moving in the same direction. Continuing to operate in an unethical manner may eventually do irreparable damage to a company, even one as large as Nike. This is especially the case as other similar companies in the industry gain popularity for taking a hard stance on the other side of the spectrum. Unfortunately, Nike has repeated offenses that degrade the public's view of the organization in terms of acting sustainably or ethically. In contrast to Nike's history, Patagonia nearly perfectly encapsulates the conscious capitalism principle of higher purpose and is a clear example of a brand that values more than just profits. Patagonia's unwavering views on the environment and a proven track record of socially responsible behavior has created a brand culture that leads to more support than most other companies are able to create, and is an example of a company that is able to enjoy high levels of profitability while still holding true to their values. If Nike is able to right the ship and instill a truly conscious culture, the brand may be able to rid itself of the negative public relations that has been following it for some time, and will improve the metric of social responsibility to the community and the environment. In order to enact these changes and prove to the public that Nike understands its duty to better the world, a process for leading these changes is needed. Cotter's 8-step process for leading change is a tool that helps map out the procedure of enacting change in an organization. The first and arguably most important step of this process that Nike should consider is creating a sense of urgency. Unfortunately, it's impossible to go back and right previous wrongs. And while some of the public will never forgive Nike for past unethical decisions, it's important to understand how critical it is to quickly take steps toward repairing the damaged brand identity. Next step is forming a strategic vision for the company to operate under in order to build cohesion and ensure that every part of the organization is working toward the same shared goal. The final step is instituting change and continuing to support the habits and behaviors that go into ensuring that the organizational change is both positive and permanent. The major challenge that surrounds this proposed change is the fact that a sizable portion of Nike's current business model would have to be reanalyzed, possibly overhauled, in order to institute more ethical and sustainable changes in the production and the distribution processes. This is a large job for a company this size, and expecting any major changes to happen quickly may be unreasonable or unrealistic. However, the evidence of underperformance in the social responsibility to the community and the environment metric may prove to be a wake-up call for the leaders in Nike. Additionally, another challenge that may present itself is possible pushback from shareholders as well as some customers. As cheap and unethical business practices are replaced, the cost of production and distribution is expected to rise. If Nike raises the prices of its products to reflect these changes, some customers may be unable or unwilling to continue purchasing them. If Nike keeps the prices the same despite these changes, the profit margins would shrink and would almost certainly lead to backlash from shareholders. Whichever decision Nike decides to make, the company will face backlash, and a cost-benefit analysis would go a long way to allowing management to choose the best option available. The ideal leadership strategies that the leaders of Nike could take in order to improve the metric of social responsibility to the community and the environment would be servant leadership and conscious leadership. A major pillar of the idea of servant leadership is the characteristic of having and portraying empathy. Demonstrating servant leadership is meant to develop the performance and the character of those who are led. It's often not enough to just lead by giving tasks or information. Dedication to improving the well-being of the communities and the environment that are affected by Nike, regardless of how it affects profits, would exemplify true servant leadership. Similarly, demonstrating conscious leadership by understanding the bigger picture of their work, including how it affects the environment and the communities around them is vital in this proposed change. It's important for an organization to effectively lead their employees in order to create a cohesive effort to support its values and to energize people to overcome major political, bureaucratic, and resource barriers to change. Thank you.